Hello and welcome to Lexavant. Today we have Miss Chrissie Lightfoot here with us today, and just to give a brief background on Ms. Lightfoot, she is the co-founder and CEO of EntrepreneurLawyer LISA and founder and CEO of EntrepreneurLawyer Limited, which is one of Yorkshire's leading consultancies. And she is a multi-global award-winning entrepreneur. She is a keynote speaker. She is the author of the Naked Lawyer series and which is artificial intelligence and law. She is a pioneer. Her work majorly involves bridging the gap between the techie, the lawyer, and the consumer, so to speak. And that is why today for us here at Lexavant today, to take inspiration from her work, just to take a bit of a idea from her, just to have her thoughts on what AI and law really mean in today's global scenario. With that much, I would just begin the conversation, so to say. So what was the driving force for you to become an entrepreneur as the
Well, it started from a very young age, actually. I just had this fire in my belly and an ambition that I wanted to do many different things in my life. I didn't just want to have one career, have one profession. And I knew that from a very, very young age. My father was an entrepreneur at heart. And I was always interested in business and always pushing barriers and wanting to try things new. So I kind of think entrepreneur has that. They want to put their fingers into different little pies and try different stuff. So I've always been that way. I think it was something I have in my DNA and family. I think, when you look at nature or nurture, I think because it was already in my family, I naturally had that kind of focus from a very early age. And I also wanted my life to have a real purpose. I didn't just want to drift through life. I always wanted to have something to go for, something to build, something to create, something to improve on. And I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs aren't just inventors, they're innovators. So they look at things and want to improve them naturally. So, fundamentally, that entrepreneurship is really about you want to make a difference. There's all different types of entrepreneurs, but the ones that, continue to be serial entrepreneurs are the ones that are actually truly are wanting to make that difference. So, for me, I can't say much more on it, really. It just is. I haven't known anything different.
That's very interesting. Actually, the fact that you mentioned about the purpose here, like just giving purpose. As a law student myself, because I'm in my penultimate year, that is something that I think even our audience would be very much, concerned with the fact that would you want to have a purpose in the sense that you want to have like just two choices, or do you want to have multiple choices for yourself? And even when I was going through your professional experience, you have incorporated a lot of that, as you said, business, and then you are, as you said, innovator. You want to push people to build a business of their own, to inculcate tech into law. And on that note, did you have an inclination towards like the technological field? As you said, you want to connect the techie with the consumer here. All of your startups actually revolve around technology. And your experience was also the commercial sector. So what prompted you, or what made you, if you don't mind me asking, what made you take the decision to leave the commercial lawyer aspect and jump into this entrepreneurship?
I think I would take a step back. I actually went into the law and became a lawyer after already being a business person. And in business, I'd been in operations, I'd been in finance, I'd been in HR, I'd done sales, marketing, R&D. So I'd done lots of what are on the spoke of a wheel of what makes a business turn. And obviously, as a business, you are involved in legal stuff as well, good and bad, whether you're just contracting or you're in dispute. So what prompted me to become a solicitor and to become a lawyer, a commercial lawyer, was I was really interested in getting to understand what it meant on the other side, because I was quite frustrated with how lawyers behave towards a business and a business person. I thought, there's got to be a better way. So I trained a solicitor and got into it with the whole purpose of wanting to improve with solicitors and law firms how to behave better towards entrepreneurs and business people, SMEs, boutiques, freelancers, because I could see that the future is very much about people being more self-employed in their own businesses and going online. So the opportunity being in intellectual property and commercial contracting around the world and the rest of it. So turning on its head, I was originally interested in, and I went from being a business person entrepreneur to become a solicitor. But then when I was in it, having been in it for about 3 years, I trained as a solicitor. I did my LPC part-time whilst I was training. And I realized that there was a lot to do. You know, I was frustrated as a trainee solicitor in a traditional law firm, knowing that things could be done better, things could be improved. So I think my natural character and behavior wanted to, I was quite maverick, even in the law firm I was at, and I felt constrained, and it was too claustrophobic. So moving from, you know, training a solicitor to qualifying, and then thinking, actually, I don't want to stay in the traditional law firm setup. There are better ways to do this. Now, this is going back, 11 years or so when I left the law firm and set up as a lawyer. And I just knew that at the time we were in a recession. If you remember back then, you're talking 2008, 2009. So we had the global recession.
Yes.
So now I think we're seeing it again, where obviously the world is going through another massive financial, economic difficulty because of COVID.
Yes.
In those times, I saw it as an opportunity, and you often find that you need to jump at a time when there is change and it is tumultuous, because in those times are great opportunities as well. So, you know, why did I make the jump? I made the jump because I was frustrated with the lack of change and the lack of foresight in the legal industry and the legal profession and the law firm I was particularly at that time, when I could see there was a better way. There was a better way I could help both lawyers and businesses if I stepped outside of that entity, and I could help many rather than few. And also, you know, traditional law firms, mavericks don't bode well in traditional law firms. It's nice if you can be entrepreneurial, but you have to be intrapreneurial within an entity, and that's okay if you're given the scope to be that way. But at that point in time, a lot of law firms didn't think that way or didn't want you to behave that way and what have you. I remember one solicitor actually said, you know, Chrissie, you've got all these wonderful ideas and you're going out there and you're wanting to win business and bring new clients in and all that, but can't you just sit there and do as you're told?
Well, as you said, you're a maverick. Mavericks don't do that.
And I thought, yeah, but I'm just waiting for the sword of Damocles to come down and the doors to shut, because if we all don't go out and do that, there aren't going to be any clients. There isn't going to be another tomorrow for this law firm. You know, and I just think, why can't some lawyers see that? You know, in that you might not want to change, but you have to, and you have to take a risk, and you have to jump. And yes, it's quite scary, but I think I was quite confident in my own ability, having had the portfolio of skills, you know, having done marketing and sales and been involved in startups prior to becoming a solicitor. Those skills and that experience gave me the confidence to think, heck, you know, if I want to leave this law firm, I know it's going to be okay. So, you know, I think I was fortunate because I'd already had experience in other businesses. I think it could be a bit more daunting for those solicitors, lawyers, trainees that are quite limited in their experience beyond the law firm. I think that, you know, if you're going to jump, then there are things that you need to consider and some skills that you need to have to make that switch. But, you know, looking towards technology and becoming a techie, if you're at university, now is the time to start doing those courses and taking those opportunities that are actually building your portfolio of skills so that you become more enterprising, you know, and have the ability to therefore stand on your own and or collaborate and work with others. Because if you don't have those skills, the best thing to do is to work with others that do.
Okay. Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because as you said, when you started out, as you claimed that maybe you were confined to that one field. You wanted to get out of it, and you thought that you did not have enough experience to do that as yet. But still, you had the idea, you had the ambition. So, and at that point, how did you, and now that we see that you've created these successful brands, so how did you make the transition to sort of come up with them in the first place? If you say, with that, as you say, a limited sort of background that you had at that point?
Whilst I was training as a solicitor, in my final year, when we were in the recession, I was trying to think of ideas of how to attract new clients, obviously to build a book of business for the law firm I was at, to make sure that I myself had a job going forward, because obviously if law firms aren't succeeding, they let people go. And, usually trainee solicitors are the first because they don't get a contract. So at the time, I knew that the company needed more work, like any law firm. And without a budget, a marketing budget or anything, because imagine if you go to the partner and say, excuse me, I've got a great idea to get some new clients in, and give me £50,000 budget, please, to make that happen. Imagine what answer you would get. So I was thinking at that time, there's this new thing called social networking and social media. Back in 2008, as such, LinkedIn was starting to become known in the UK, although it had started and was quite prominent in the US. It was still quite nascent and new to everybody in the UK. I don't think even Twitter existed then. If it did, we didn't come across it in the UK. But I thought, LinkedIn is a great tool in order to reach out and build a community, build relationships. If you can build a brand as a personality within an entity, so building a brand that would match nicely with what you're trying to achieve in target clients for wherever you work. So for me, it was the law firm. I actually went about doing that. So in the final year, I had this idea that I thought, I'm a lawyer. I'm interested in entrepreneurs as clients, and niche of a niche of a niche. So it was entrepreneurs that were in particular fields that I was interested in as well, because I did a lot of share schemes, because at that point in time, I started to think quite cleverly about businesses don't have a lot of money, but if we as lawyers can help them put better things in place for their employees, so rather than pay them more, you could give them share options to stay with the company over a difficult period. So I kind of started to put the thing together as in an offering to get new clients. And I thought, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I try to target entrepreneurs. I am a lawyer. How would people identify with me? How would target clients, customers, businesses identify? Well, they want people they know, like, trust, get, and share common interests with and can really understand. So I went about trying to build a community on LinkedIn where I was meeting other entrepreneurs they'd say, Chrissie, what do you do? Who are you? I say, well, I'm a businesswoman with legal intelligence. And so, well, what do you mean by that? So I didn't say I'm a lawyer, because as soon as you say you're a lawyer or an accountant, people think, oh God, I'm bored. This is boring. No, I have something that I can, if you keep listening, there might be something that I can help you with. So, yeah. So I naturally thought it would be good to develop the personal brand, which would then bring them in to the firm. So Entrepreneur Lawyer, Chrissie Lightfoot, the Entrepreneur Lawyer, is my personal brand. And that came about because I asked people, I just thought, if I was to say to you, who am I as a brand, as in who I am, not what I am, who am I? And 2 or 3 people said, you're an entrepreneur lawyer. So I thought, put the two together. And at that point in time, if you did a search on the internet for the term entrepreneur lawyer, 0 hits came up. So I thought, I can own that space. So if you can have a personal brand that is truly you, authentically you, and own a space that hasn't been occupied, then you can actually capture that space. So that's how Entrepreneur Lawyer came about with the brand. And I realized that then it was all about attention grabbing. So once I made the decision to move out of the law firm, because I wanted to work with lawyers, with the professionals and tech companies and other businesses and bring them together, I thought it would be great to have a product brand. Hence, I wrote The Naked Lawyer book. And obviously that's attention grabbing. It was off the back of, The Naked Chef. We have The Naked Chef, So That's about innovating. Although it was fresh and it was quite daring and sexy in the legal world, which once again, how to get attention to stand out from the vanilla world or other vanilla personalities.
Yeah.
It's very staid. You know, I'm sure it's the same in India. In the UK, at that point in time, it was still very much white, middle class, well-educated men as such. So I needed to bring an offering that people would read something very different. And it is, you know, the Naked Lawyer is very sexy. It's very daring. It pushes the boundaries. It makes people think. It makes people act and transit as well. And similarly with Robot Lawyer Lisa, it's about stating the obvious. You know, although Lisa is not a robot, is a metal robot. Many countries and a lot of understanding, when you say robot, they think machine. So a robot is a machine. So I needed to have the distinction between, if you are going to use Robot Lawyer Lisa, it is not human. It is a machine. So there's no misunderstanding. Here in the UK, we have regulations. So, you know, if you're a practicing solicitor in a law firm, you're regulated. I needed to make that distinction obvious. And it's obvious, intelligent support assistant. So putting it together, Robot Lawyer Lisa, it's unique. It says what it is. It says what it does. You know, and it's been very successful. So, you know, branding is really, really important, whether it's a personal brand, product brand, or a company brand. I think the three work together fantastically in order to attract and keep clients.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Naked Lawyer series. Even when I came across it, I saw it and then I had to see it again. Like just the title itself, I was just like, oh, okay, quite interesting. So I can see the two, like, since, you know, as you talked about, you know, building your network on LinkedIn at the beginning and then moving across. So you realized early on in your entrepreneurial way the importance of technology. And as we're moving ahead, and you're at the forefront in terms of, as you said, as a lawyer, entrepreneur lawyer, it was never there. You know, when you searched it at the beginning, it just became yours because you were sort of at the forefront of it. So now, as we transition to, like, say, in the second, this is another form of that very technology being brought forth. But lawyers, as you said, machine. The machine. It's not something that is very much received in a friendly manner so far, at least in the field of law, from what we have observed. And so, do you see that changing, or what would be your take on that when people resist this technological change, artificial intelligence taking over their jobs, or just sense? What would be your take on it?
Yes, things are changing, albeit very, very slowly. You know, like most things, behavior change. You know, for traditional solicitors anywhere in the world to start they find difficult, but I think that's true of most human beings in most industries. But I think it's more so in the legal industry, simply because solicitors like to do what they've always done, and it takes some convincing when there's something new that might replace what they're very comfortable with and want to just keep doing. I've many speaking engagements all over the world, you know, whether it's Europe, Australasia, South Africa, North or South America, Europe, Scandinavia. And one very telling workshop consultancy I was doing with a company in Scandinavia, one of the lawyers turned around, and it was a big company, and it was an annual conference where they were all working together for the day, and he stood up in front of everybody and he said, "But I like drafting contracts and taking 2 or 3 hours over it and picking it to pieces and this, that, and the other. I don't want to automate that process." And fortunately, immediately one of his colleagues stood up and said, "But hang on, what if our competitor down the road starts using this automated contract? Does it in 10 minutes, charges only €200, instead of 2,000, where do you think our client's going to go? So, you know, for me, change is happening, yes, but slowly. It is happening and has happened here in the UK, more so in the last 5 years. You know, traditionally technology in legal has been a cottage industry. But I think about 5 years ago, we started to see cognitive computing coming in, and some of the bigger firms starting to use the likes of Raven, which is now I Manage, you know, people looking at IBM Watson. Then obviously we've got the growth of other similar technologies like cognitive computing, but some that are moving into the AI realm as well as expertise automation, robot process automation, machine learning. We're now looking at higher performance computing that's pre-quantum, of course. So the technology is there and it's changing, and the adoption within different size law firms is actually, they are starting to onboard a lot of what we class as legal tech. But it's been very much legal tech in the sense of technology that helps lawyers do things the way that they've always done, just faster, cheaper, better, quicker, more accurate. You know, whether it's helping with debate or analysis, contract analysis, whether it's due diligence, you know, they haven't really changed the way that they work. They're resisting that. And it's all about trusting the machine, you know, and I'm proving to the solicitor this machine can do as good a job, if not a better job than you can, so why not let it do it? But also I think it's a mindset shift for lawyers to think about what other services could we offer if we did use the machine, if we truly understood what this technology can do. Now, my space that I really talk about is law tech. And I think there is a difference between legal tech and law tech. Other consultants would disagree with me, and it's easy just to bundle it all up as legal tech. But I think that can be confusing because there are a lot of legal tech companies out there that want to develop technology products, whether they're, you know, smart machines. It doesn't matter which of those I've just mentioned, AI, machine learning, whatever. I don't want to get in an argument about what is AI or whatever. Some form of technology that really just helps them behind the scenes in their business operate. You know, some would argue that Zoom, everybody going online, all the solicitors going online now to communicate with their existing and new clients, what have you. To me, that's just technology. And you might class it as legal tech when lawyers are using it, but it's technology. It's quite different to law tech, which is a true disruptor in how clients or customers engage with solicitors or don't. You know, true law tech disruption for me is about taking away some of the role and tasks that a lawyer does and letting the customer do it for themselves. So, you know, law tech for me is a true disruptor about how lawyers behave, how the buyer behaves, and different entities aren't actually law firms where they're delivering legal services and products that do not need a human solicitor involved in the chain. It's no different to JP Morgan when they've produced algorithms to get rid of some of their, you know, finance staff. So, you know, there are tasks and roles that can be done by law tech or fintech or reg tech or insure tech that do not need any human interaction whatsoever. It may be that the human is needed at the end of it to check over, but 95, 98, 99% can be done without the human. So, you know, my general observation is that in different countries, there are different stages. You know, having traveled the world, having worked with different legal associations, I've worked with bar associations and solicitor associations, as well as law firms and individual lawyers in different countries. There is a definite appetite for knowledge and understanding and learning and how to apply and adopt technology. However, there are certain barriers to entry, and one of the biggest ones is regulation. You know, depending on what country you're in, the regulatory ecosystem can actually prevent innovation. Or it is, if it's a bit more relaxed, like in the UK, we're quite blessed because, you know, our regulatory system does encourage competition. You know, we have ABSs, alternative business structures, where non-lawyers can offer legal service and legal product as long as you've got one qualified solicitor on the board. We do have a setup that does foster competition so that, you know, hopefully there's more choice for the consumer and businesses in the country. But I would like to say that I think it's a bright future going forward. I think because we're at the very beginning and it's very nascent, the capability, the technology is there. it's about persuading behavior change by the producers, the suppliers, whether that is a lawyer in a traditional law firm or creating new entities that can produce these new legal service and legal products. And that's a mix of law tech and legal tech to have an efficient company and efficient and profitable offerings. Because, you could look at a new business model and create new income streams, which I think is the huge opportunity anywhere in the world, in any country. There are investors that are willing to invest in legal tech. They've done that. They've proven that it is increasing year on year. But I feel that the latent legal buyer market, which is about 80% in any country where you've got a mass population, the real invention and innovation and law tech should be the golden egg, the goose that laid the golden egg. Any company that's going to actually be able to do that, or a multitude of companies or developments, is where it's really needed. I think in my heart, when you asked me why am I an entrepreneur, it's about making a difference. It's about helping people as well. And I always felt that all of us consumers, we all need legal. Small businesses and entrepreneurs, they all need legal. But things are developed that aren't really affordable for us at that level. And I think there's a real opportunity for new law tech and legal tech companies to actually start, building product and services that serve that market, rather than all of the big legal tech companies who just want to sell to the top 100, 200 because it's 6-7 figures rather than 3 or 4. When you've got mass volume at a lower value, you've still got a great market and a great opportunity there.
However, so this is what I think my biggest question here would be that, as you said, lawyers traditionally have been very resistant to change. And as compared to when we talk about the legal tech world and when we differentiate with the law tech world, would you say that perhaps the fact that law as a traditional profession is more public service oriented, and when these lawyers are sort of in a way, in a traditional or the conventional way, when they feel that they're being sort of, pushed down by these machines, so to speak, as the gentleman in your conference when he stood up and he said the fact that, oh, I want to do this, but then, oh, you have a competitor over there who can take this over from you and you don't have a say in it. So in that scenario, how does a lawyer, while making this technology evolution a friend, sort of, market himself or herself to these potential clients? How would he or she make that sort of a change and incorporate that without being threatened? Because I feel like that's the biggest challenge that sort of, on the face of it appears to be there.
I've given too many speeches about it should be human and machine. Is it friend or foe? And I've always advocated from this. The machine is really good at doing certain things far better than you as a human. So why not let it? Because you as a solicitor, lawyer, your role, you are a civil servant, basically, in a way, who has a duty of care, who has made a promise to act in good faith towards your customer or client. Now, the best way you can do that is to use tools, and whether it's your human brain or a machine's brain, let's call it a brain, and combine them together, use the best of each to deliver the best service and outcome you possibly can for your client. It is your duty to do that. And if you have all these different tools available to you, you should be using them. So I have that kind of attitude and opinion towards it, because I remember when I was practicing, I was thinking, we shouldn't just be sat here wasting time, clocking our time, because it's still all about time. It's not about task or the end product. If you go into any other industry, it's not about time. It's about fulfilling a task. Project in place, getting everybody around doing things, and you get from A to Z with all these little benchmarks and what have you. And yes, you say we need to get this done in 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever it is, but you have a business set up and you are task orientated. More so, it's a project. So I think because lawyers have always been billing by the hour, and yes, there's been a shift, in some of the pricing models, but it's still fundamentally about where they draw the line about how much time is it going to take us to do this. So, when a machine can come along and do it in seconds, that a lawyer would normally take days, on the bigger deals, a machine might do it in 2 days compared to 2 months. Now, obviously, a lawyer and a law firm love to charge 2 months of work, which would be a fortune to a business. Now, my answer to that is the right thing to do is find a business model where the pricing is such both parties, because race to the bottom. It can't be a race to the bottom, otherwise lawyers won't have law firms as a going concern, proper entity that would exist. So it's not, and I'm not advocating that. Is that the smart lawyers and the smart lawyers are thinking, look, we can use this technology. We're sharing it with our client. They're using a machine. They're happy with that. We've explained that to them. They've tested it. They're happy because it is more accurate than us. Even if I put a team of 10 lawyers on it, they make mistakes. They don't pick up as many errors. So we're actually giving you an improved service by using the machine. So it doesn't mean to say we have to charge by the hour. We're saying we're using a mix of machines and humans to get the same outcome. But actually, when the outcome is there, it's a better outcome for you, the client. So you should feel a bit more comfortable. And because of that, we've invested in this machine, and it's costing to use this, just like it would cost us to hire some more human lawyer bodies to get it done in that kind of time frame. Now, if we've done that, we've actually made a significant saving, because we're not going to be charging you what are being the extra lawyers. We're only going to charge you what we think is fair for our investment in the technology on an ongoing basis, and us deploying that technology along with the human assistants that need to check things and to make sure you've still got the human advice alongside the machine process. So, if lawyers were better salespeople and speaking with their client and being open and honest and acting with integrity and saying, we're a business just like you, and we need to charge a fair fee to make sure that we break even, and then we need to make profit and all the rest of it, you can see why this is a fair trade. Our machine, which we have had to train, depending on what type of technology you're using, we spent 3 months training this thing with all of the data. And obviously, just like a pharmaceutical company with R&D, we need to get our investment back. And for the next 3 years, we need to do that. So our pricing point is X. So, this is about lawyers being fundamentally more business savvy and commercial, and being able to speak and relate with their clients. Because most clients say, absolutely, I totally understand where you're coming from. We don't expect it for free. We don't expect it to be a load cheaper, because you're just replacing humans with machines, but you've got to pay for the machine and what have you. So, for me, I've always tried to put a lot of solicitors and trainees at ease to say, look, your customer and your client live in the same world as you. They are business people like you. They understand money in, money out. They understand expenses. They understand what profit they need to make and what have you, and what is fair. If people are going to trade together, they need to understand what it encompasses. What a lot of lawyers fail at is not really communicating that well enough, because they've only operated in a space where it's you get a letter and there's your bill and pay it. And even some don't really explain what it's for. I think things have really improved in that aspect, don't get me wrong. But I've worked with some lawyers where I've said, look, why don't you operate like businesses do with accountants? Accountants don't just do numbers. They help with business strategy. So aren't you doing the same when you're a lawyer? You're helping them with their business strategically as well. So why don't you differentiate what is actual legal drafting, what is legal advice, and what is business strategy advice? You standing in their shoes and trying to get an outcome that your client really needs or wants. And some lawyers that I've worked with started to break down in their billing legal advice and strategic business advice. So, this is about being very smart and being very business-like. You can still be a professional, a legal professional, and as your prime role, and you have a duty, but you can also be very empathetic, if you can, to another business, because you are in a business as a law firm or as an ABS or as a new entity, and relate to them as another business person. So, I always push back when people say, oh, you're talking about I'm going to be redundant and this and the other. No, you as a lawyer per se is not going to be redundant. human beings, businesses, consumers will always need human legal advice, but that should be in conjunction with using tools and technologies in order for you to be able to give that sound advice or that sound service or product. So, that I can't say much more on that subject. I'm really passionate about it. I could go on for hours, and with lots and lots of more examples, but I think it's been proven that there are plenty of lawyers out there now very happily using machines. For the last couple of years here in the UK, all of the top 100 law firms have used some form of smart technology, cognitive computing as one thing. They have developed some AI products. I'm not just talking legal tech here, I'm talking some law tech as well. We're starting to see the rise of law tech here in the UK. Very slowly, don't get me wrong, it is still nascent, and lots of young companies and startups just getting going in the last 2 years or so. But I do think that it's a very opportunistic time to actually get involved. If you are a solicitor and wanting to move the switch, whether you're a young junior lawyer or whether you're a seasoned solicitor, there comes a time where you're thinking, actually, I want to do something different. And I think now is the time to actually consider bridging between lawyer and techie, or becoming more tech, or even more business development and marketing, or becoming a NED and making that shift, because I think there's more options now. There's more opportunities of what to get involved in.
That is true. And to be honest, I mean, you fairly made your point about the machine having to eventually come in the middle of it, just to sort of be helpful, like a tool, as you stated. So on that note, as as the founder and CEO of EntrepreneurLawyer, can you maybe tell us a little bit about what was the sort of like the company and how it is different, and how as the leading consultancies in Yorkshire, what is it about the company that is making it so just marching ahead today?
Well, Entrepreneur Lawyer Limited just celebrated my 11th birthday actually yesterday, which was yesterday it was. It was founded back in thank you. It was founded back in 2019, obviously when I just left the law firm that I trained at. I worked from home. I've always worked from home. So, this big thing about people needing offices, I saw 10, 11 years ago that you actually don't need, technology, working online with your laptop anywhere in the world. So although I was based in Yorkshire, I was working wherever I was commissioned, so anywhere in the world. So have a laptop, will travel. So I've never had a HQ, and I think we're going to find that a lot of other companies and entities going forward won't need HQs either, because you've got lots of people working together in networked up all over the world, and the company is kind of virtual. The company really took off after I'd written the Naked Lawyer book, The Naked Lawyer, How to Market, Brand and Sell You, because I was asked to go and speak and consult on the content within that book, which is very much, as it says what it is, how to market, brand and sell you. So obviously a lot of solicitors wanted to know and how to keep clients, how to get clients using online social media. So probably 10 years ahead of its time again, because where we are now, I just did a podcast yesterday with, probably can't disclose that at this point in time, with an association that said, asking me similar questions, but, they said, do our solicitors practicing differently since COVID-19, and should they be marketing differently? And this and that. Well, they shouldn't be doing anything differently than they should have done 10 years ago, because the opportunity was online 10 years ago. It just took them 7 or 8 years to actually do it. And they're forced to do it now because they can't go and meet in person. So, all of those solicitors and lawyers that could have done that 10 years ago would be a lot further on and probably be making more money and have more clients right now. So, for me, the Naked Lawyer obviously was the bedrock upon which what I built, a consultancy company, where I've worked with fantastic junior lawyers or seasoned lawyers or barristers, not just lawyers, but associations as well, I think I mentioned. Because primarily a legal therapist, and you look ahead, what is going to be next? And what always about what's next and what can we prepare for. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but it doesn't take a lot of smarts to look at trends and look at some forecasts and think about where you need to be positioned in order to make sure that even when you look at a market, that you need to be on an upward trend of a buoyant market rather than on its descent. So, you have to be smart about, well, what is the kind I need to be doing, where I need to position to get that work. So, you need to be always looking into the future and kind of preparing for that and building for that and actually creating it as well. So, I think you mentioned at the start, my forte has been very much looking, to help businesses succeed, but that does encompass looking at, advising on strategy and marketing, business development, obviously branding, and my forte is definitely all about get that personal brand, product brand, company brand working together, because convincing seasoned solicitors that it's okay for young solicitors or others within their firm to have a personal brand. There was a lot of resistance about that years ago, because they say, well, it's all about the company. Clients hire the company. No, they don't. They hire the individuals within the company that they relate to. So things like that are really, really important for me, is how I grew Entrepreneur Lawyer, because I didn't approach entities or companies, I approached individuals. So I was a consultant who was saying, I'm consulting to you as the individual within an entity. How do you want to do this? Now, invariably, obviously, my business grew because it was the company that hired me on behalf of the individual or individuals, because they wanted those individuals to improve, because they knew that they would then add value to the entity. So, even thinking about, Entrepreneur Lawyer didn't go out and say, I want to help all the corporates or the business, or I didn't. I'm saying I want to help you as an individual within whatever entity you work within or choose to do so that you have skills that you can take wherever you go, because you are going to need a portfolio of skills to give you choice as to where you want to work in the future, because there is not going to be a job for life in one law firm going forward. And I was saying that 11 years ago. Now, we are at a point, as you can see, where it is becoming more disparate. One of the biggest growth entities here in the UK are ABSs, and also kind of the umbrella solicitor network, consultant network. We have Keystone Law and Gunnar Cook, Hailbury, some others. Elevate is got one angle of it now. So, there are more solicitors who are working like an individual under an entity, or, even in the UK, the biggest market is still freelance solicitors. So, and I think we're going to see more of that. So, for me, Entrepreneur Lawyer has grown, in every way more than what I envisaged. Like I said earlier, I've been so blessed, and I didn't know where I was going to get the first call from, when I set up. And it was really great, because when I did, I remember my first one, and I was very, very nervous, actually. I got a call from the the organizer of ALPMA, which is the Legal Professional Management Association in Australia. This is back in 2010, I think. And that was my first ever keynote speaking gig. And I got to go to Australia and spend 5 days and meet wonderful people, doing an opening and a closing keynote. And then from then, like I say, I've been all over the world. It led to further work in New Zealand and what have you. But under Entrepreneur Lawyer, that's where I give my services, and how I support Robot Lawyer Lisa as well at this point in time. So, being an AI law tech pioneer and an advisor, I'm a NED now, so I actively look for non-executive director roles where I can share and add value to the board, of course, so at that level they understand the importance of obviously the marketing, strategic leadership, as well as technology. So in a lot of companies, I'm trying to say, look, a lot of companies aren't embracing smart technology in your legal department as such? What are you doing? Are you still operating in this way? So it's about taking that opportunity of my experience, basically, wearing all different hats, and I do different roles for different companies and different people, whether it's a marketeer to support, branding to support, advising on law tech, advising on legal tech, advising on AI within the business. There's a whole range that I can actually help and support with now. So, going forward, Entrepreneur Lawyer is my company vehicle. It will always be there as long as I'm always working and inventing. But it's morphed, it's changed as the years have gone on as well. I've flexed and adapted to where the demand was. The first 4 years I was spending a lot of time consulting on marketing, branding, and selling. But from about 2014 onwards, I've had a more demand of saying, will you help us understand legal tech and law tech and how to apply that and deploy that? And now it's switched back again, and I'm getting more demand again for, will you help us understand about marketing, branding, and selling? Because we're back where we were 10 years ago. We're in another recession. Lawyers need to sell and market, however. They're not all lawyers are looking at technology because they're battening down the hatches, and that was more of like a luxury spend and a luxury good. And are we really going to have the money to do that right now? No, we're not. So, they're saying what we really need is sales. We need to be seen. We need to get some more clients. We need to capitalize on the opportunity rather than think that, have a sinking ship here. How do you salvage it? So I go wherever the need and demand is with my little portfolio of skills and my tool set of experience and knowledge and contacts. I think what's really important now is those relationships and how you can help individuals and businesses, whether they're law firms or businesses, have the right connections in order to get to where they need to get to. And I think I've been really blessed that obviously over the last 11 years, I've built a phenomenal community, professional community, journalist community. And I think from what I'd like to say on this podcast as well is I was speaking with one yesterday, and it was pretty clear that there's a real appetite from junior solicitors, trainee solicitors, those at universities doing their legal course, who are quite frightened about the future and frightened about their prospects. And I can empathize with that. I've been there, and I was frightened as a mature person. I was in my mid-30s when I was a trainee solicitor. I was frightened, thinking, heck, we're in a recession and I might not have a job at the end of this. So what am I going to do about it? I told you what I've done about it and what I did about it. You might want to consider doing something similar. But I would say this, that, if there's consultants out there and seasoned solicitors as well, what should really happen right now is you should use your connections and your contacts to help the university law students. I'm mentoring a wonderful lady here in Leeds, Yorkshire. She did really well in her university degree. She's now just starting an LPC. But the main thing that the students really need is work experience. They need work experience, in a law firm and or in a business to prove the kind of lawyerly skills, so that they have a chance of getting a training contract and really getting on the ladder to the career that they want, so that they can choose what they really want. And I've managed to help identify with a small boutique legal firm here in Yorkshire, where because they are entrepreneurial and enterprising, it's I was able to match the individual desires of that law student, because she's interested in the law and technology, and get a replacement as a paralegal into a boutique law firm, and she'll be on her way now. To help somebody like that, I think more consultants and solicitors should make an effort in actually nurturing the next, star solicitors, barristers throughout the world. It doesn't matter where you are. I think, we have a duty to give back to our industry and profession as well. I feel that quite strongly. And yes, you can only do so much, but if all of us did it once with one student, then surely we would get more law students placed early and on that ladder in a paralegal role even, or a legal executive role, or even just some work experience. you know, to really help those students make that step, because they don't have to jump totally out if there's more openings. And you know, it is hard work, don't get me wrong. I mean, I did my LPC like this wonderful young law student. You know, when you're doing your LPC part-time as well as working in a law firm, having a job, it is tough. But at least then you've proven that you can work in a law firm and you're valuable. And then the next step is obviously your training contract and then qualifying. And that's it. You're up and running, you're off. So I'm not sure that was kind of answering your question, but EntrepreneurLawyer also, you know, I've helped a number of students, law students, you know, get a leg up, but also move out. Some people think, no, I don't want this anymore. I want to move out. I've had enough being a lawyer. I want to try something fresh and new. What would suit me? So I've helped, you know, people transit doing that as well. And that really means a lot to me. I get a lot from that. I get a lot from it when people have read the book and said it really helped me. You know, I've put this into place now. I've gone from A to B to C to D. Things are improving. I'm not worried as much anymore now. You know, and you know, I'm quite pleased that EntrepreneurLawyer in a way is kind of a social enterprise consultancy. You know, I am very, very business-like about things, but it has a social enterprise element to it. And here in Leeds, Yorkshire, they've just issued a report about, you know, Leeds is one of the key law centres outside of London here in the UK, but it's also got a lot of digital technology companies, and it's also got a lot of law students, you know, and I think where you've got regions, local region, nations that have those kind of setups, we should really start collaborating in order to try and improve our local and regional economies by doing business within our own regions as well, and not thinking that we have to reach out too much. It's not taking a step back. It's actually just being very smart about, wouldn't miss doing business if it was down the road. Why go across the world when it's on your doorstep? So even though we do have this wonderful digital world, and you could go anywhere in the world, and that's great, that's fine. You want to encourage inward investment or inward talent or inward business, that's fine. If we all do that, then, you know, everybody profits and everybody benefits, don't they? So yeah, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, even though, you know, it's very challenging. Don't get me wrong. If you want to go into business, it's a rocky road. It's tiring. It can be exhausting. It can be scary. It's all of those things, but it is hugely rewarding when you know you've helped a lot of people and you have made a difference, you know, despite all of that pain. And it makes you a stronger person, you know, a better person. That you know, when you've made a step and gone into a business and built it, when you didn't have anything on day one, you know, lack of money, lack of clients, you know, on day one you have 0 customers. Joy, seeing them is pure joy. Through sticky situations is fantastic. If let's talk about money, some entrepreneurs go into business out of money. They want to, you know, make gazillions. I've always been students in, I don't need millions. I am financially free to go and try to do different things. So for me, it's what's next is, if I had the money, I would do a new venture, a new project that may not be what I'm doing right now, but I would have the funds to do that. So it'd make it easier for the next step. So I think if you are going to make a step, you have to be true to yourself as to why you are doing it, you know, and then you need to actually go on that journey and be very focused about that. And being happy that when you achieve those milestones, you celebrate them, which I wasn't very good at the beginning. I forgot to celebrate a lot, but I've started to do that a lot more. I think I think COVID has taught me that actually I don't need to work 80 hours a week anymore. I don't need to jump on planes every fortnight. And and I need to get a lot more balance in my life, my work, leisure, family. So that is a decision that we all take at different stages in our lives as well. But for me, I'm taking a little bit of a step back and taking things a little bit easier and getting a bit more balanced. I've had to do that because obviously my wings have been clipped and I can't jump on flights as readily as I used to be able to. But I'm still being able to be of service online, doing interviews like this on Zoom, doing consultancy on Zoom, getting involved in non-executive board meetings on Zoom. Life goes on and business goes on. You just have to adapt.
That is, I just have to say this, your story is quite inspiring. It honestly is. Like, when I'm listening to how you started, you are bringing, like, you accept the fact that, yes, I am disoriented, but the fact that you're taking in the social aspect into it, these, so many facets that you're involved in, you're juggling it all at the same time, and it is quite inspiring, and it just makes you wonder what keeps you motivated. In the sense that you're doing, as you said, you want to take a step back, yes, but you also want to. You're going down. You're talking to people. You're motivating young people. You're mentoring them. What is motivating you?
My work will never be done. What motivates me is there's always something next. What is next? That question is always there. I wake with it every day. Whatever I'm doing, it's okay. That's okay. How can I improve it? What's next? Motivation comes from an energy within you. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's just the way I'm built, my DNA, my thinking. I wouldn't be able to just sit and think, okay, that's done now. Nothing is ever done. It can always be improved. My motivation comes from knowing that and not stopping and not resting. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's you've decided you want to go and keep building different huts or properties in different countries. Lots of people have lifelong missions in bringing about equality for women, helping poor. Mine has been very much about people making their way in life, having a career, having a business. I've always been business orientated because I've been the entrepreneur business side of it. What is it you can help people get through life in their professional capacity to make their lives better? It hasn't been about the entity. I keep saying that. It's about the individuals. We all need to put food on the table. We all need to put, have a roof over our head. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's start at the bottom. As soon as you've got food and covered off, what's next? It's about those levels of self-actualization. And for me, it's about that. What motivates me in my work is how to become a better person. You become a better and a stronger person by the experiences you have, the skills that you learn, and what you share in helping others along their journey as well. So, yes, I have my personal journey and what I want to do in my business or businesses. But as I'm doing that, I know that my real purpose in life is to teach, to help others. Teaching per se, I'm not a teacher. I don't go and stand in a classroom. I'm not even really a coach. I'm more of a mentor, and I help people learn. And as you've just said, motivate other people, to inspire them, to actually transform who and what they want to become, and share mine. And everybody's story and journey will be absolutely unique. But I'm okay about putting myself out there and being a guinea pig and an example, and practice what I preach. I don't believe in not actually carrying out what you're promising to people that you're going to help them with. So, but I know that having had that attitude and behavior from a very young age, it's helped me grow as a person. And I think you find that if you take a similar route or a similar attitude, you realize that the more you do and the more you help and the more you learn and the more skills that you have and the more experiences you have, the less afraid you become. You know, a lot of people fear what's next. They fear change. They fear how they're going to handle things. They fear if they're going to have a claim against them. They fear if they've got to move out of a human relationship, or they fear if they've got to split up in a business relationship, and dealing with all of that angst and horrific situation, what have you. But when you've been through it once or twice or 3 times or more, when you've been an entrepreneur, you know that whatever is thrown at you, whatever the world throws at you, whatever other people throw at you, you will be able to handle it and get through it. So, you know, there's big pluses in having that outlook on life, I suppose. And my life isn't it's not fragmented into work, family, leisure. It's all one. I don't work a 4-day week or a 5-day week or a 7-day week. I live 7 days a week. I live every day, and some of that embraces work. Some of it is play. Some of it is with family. Some of it with friends, lover, whatever. You know, I don't have the outlook on life that we need to compartmentalize things. We should be living our lives, enjoying every moment with all of those aspects of our lives in it. If that makes sense.
Oh, wow, that was really beautiful, and that was quite inspiring. And with that, I think we have, so despite the challenging times that we're in at the moment, you know, and concerning that we're going through a pandemic, and as you said, whatever is thrown at you, and you know, you have to find ways to sort of deal with it, or just to, you know, get on with it. So on that note, what would your advice be to the up and coming young entrepreneurs that when they face a certain setback, when they face a certain failure, what habits have helped you particularly overcome those, and what would be your advice to these young entrepreneurs?
What I have done to help me is you have to stay in a positive mindset, and that's not easy. I think we've seen that a lot of people have got, you know, mental issues, you know, about it's difficult to work alone, or all kinds of things, worrying about the future, worrying about are they going to have a job or what's next and what have you. And what's helped me anyway, I mean, I think I'm naturally a positive person, and I naturally talk to myself. I don't sit mumbling in a room or anything, but I try to overcome those demons in your head that are negative, and it's quite a powerful thing. You know, I started to do some form of like meditation as such, so you can actually step back and be calm, because the main thing is to be calm about things. So, you know, mental attitude in how you approach each day. You start the night before. You know, you're having habits where you go to bed already being prepared for the next day and thinking positively about the outcomes of when you're going to have that telephone conversation or make that approach. You know, there's going to be a positive outcome. I'm going to approach this with energy and enthusiasm and positivity, and off we go. Having that habit is really important. And it is about being organized. It is about time management, you know, prioritizing the next day, having your priorities, putting some factor in to allow for noise. The worst thing you can do is actually fill your day, your next day, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. with nothing where there's no gaps in it. You need gaps because things come out of the woodwork that sap time. You know, so, you know, we always feel as if we failed in a day and get angry and frustrated because we're not getting through what we promised ourselves we would get through. So what I've learned is lighten the load. You know, at this point in time where things are really difficult and can be stressful, you need to have less things on your to-do list than more, I think. But those less things to be real quality. They need to be the priorities that you need to deal with on that day, and not carry forward to the next. You need those other things that were on the list that you need to offload a little bit to put it on those other days in the week. The other thing is to make a note and jot down those positive things that you've achieved each day, so that you're not focusing on failure. You're focusing on success. Great, I did achieve. I wanted to just do that today, and I've actually got it done. And actually, it was a fantastic outcome. I've made a step forward, not a step back. So I think, you really need to stay focused on the positive. You need to set yourself the priority goals, but just a day by day. I don't think you should be looking too far ahead right now, because I think you set yourself up for failure, because there's so much we don't know, so much that might change in a short period of time. We've seen that with COVID, where you're in lockdown, you're let free, and then you're back in lockdown again. Well, you kind of knew it was coming, but you didn't know when. And the government just tells you, right, in 2 days it's lockdown again. Now, if you'd planned to do X, Y, and Z even just a week from now, a month from now, all you're going to do is stress yourself to cancel things and rejig things and create more work for yourself. Well, why bother? I think we need to just think in smaller time frames right now and just get through the next few days, basically, I think is the smart thing to do. Then, then you're not feeling anxious, and you're not feeling that you're in control. You are in control with what you're doing today and right now, and probably the next day or two. After that, we don't know. So, failure is something that we all have to deal with, isn't it? We failed at something, whether it's a personal relationship or whether it's a business has failed, or we failed an exam or whatever. But the thing is, to every time you get knocked down, get back up and fight. In situations like this, it's, fight or flight, flee. And that's two types of characteristics that deal with these. Obviously, you could tell I'm a fighter, but those that want to flee, or flight, those are the people that need help and need support. And then, they need this kind of advice to try and think more positively, or help community or a network of friends and business associates around those people that need that support. So those of us that have the strength and have that capacity, that natural, positive fight, that strength should be needed to help the other half that actually really needs some mental support right now.
Wow. So I'm taking it one at a time. Very, very helpful advice. So I think with that, Ms. Lightfoot, we have come to the end of this conversation. It was so lovely to have you with us today. And we sort of hope that maybe we could have this, conversation in person. So we welcome you to India. We know you're also dying to get on a plane.
I wish.
No, honestly, we welcome you humbly to India in future, and to have this conversation with you again, to help our audiences again, get your feedback, get your views on this. And it was really delightful. I think we have learned a lot of important things today for the young entrepreneurs there. And is the new change, and entrepreneurs, this is the right time to just get on, put your mind caps on and, just get on with it. So it was lovely. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it. I really have. And I would love to come and visit you. India is one place I have not been. So if that opportunity arises, I would dearly love to be there. I really would. And my parting one-liner would simply be that I hope that each and every one of you will be the captain of your own mothership. And that's one of the... Yeah, it is important, because we do get swayed by what we think we should be doing because others expect it of us, especially when you're a young junior. And actually, no, you have your own story to write. You have your own journey, your own path to travel. And you have to be brave enough and strong enough to do that. So be the captain of your own mothership. And it's a motto that I think has a real meaning. And attitude is, well, I've had a good life, and if I was to go tomorrow, that's it. And I always ask a lot of people when I've done my talks and consultancy, I say, what would you want your epitaph to read? Would you be proud of it? Would you have done with your life what you expected you would do with it? And I always remember there's some funny ones. You know, Spike Milligan, who is a famous comedian over in the UK, he put on his epitaph, I told you I was ill. And people ask me and say, Chrissie, what would it be? I said, I would like to think it would just read, I had no regrets. And whether that's true or not, we will see. At this point in time, I still feel I have no regrets, because even when you look back on your life at the tough times and the bad times, I still don't regret what I've done and what I did, because it was still part of who I am, what I am, and what I've become to be. So I think, you know, having the right attitude toward life, living, your career, your journey, with the end in mind. If you think about at the end, at the very final hour, what would you want that to be? You have to live your life so that you are true to it. So thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this. It's set me up for the day. I now need to go on and do some of my priorities today. And let's look forward to next time. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a lovely day. And